Okay, so at Logicalis, you fairly recently published, I think it's your 10th annual report, looking at CIO insights. And I suppose the twin topics, the headline findings are perhaps not too surprising in the current environment, but we're talking cybersecurity, cyber threats, and AI. So just, yeah, a little bit of background to the survey and some sort of initial thoughts as to why those things might still or beginning to dominate as well.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. It's very interesting to see the report come out and the evolution over the 10 years and how the topics have changed in that time. And this year's summary, as you said, AI and cyber, I don't think there's any surprises there. But what's interesting is the link to them. We're seeing that it's really highlighting that AI is producing a lot of opportunity, but also many risks. And so people are all very seriously investing in AI, but they're also really concerned about how they control that in their business. There's a lot of talk at the moment about how you leverage AI securely and make sure that your data isn't leaking out into the wrong area. And there's a lot of talk about it, but not a lot of guidance on how to actually do that. And so I think all of our CIOs are asking, how do they balance that risk and opportunity? And so the balancing act is a very big theme. And the other area with cyber and the linkage back to AI is that AI is propelling these new cyber threats. If you look at the threat actors and the organizations that are doing these cyber penetrations and attacks and breaches, they're not the kid sitting in the basement in a hoodie and on the keyboard, as the images that come up in your Google search might suggest. They're very organized companies that are leveraging AI and technology and social engineering at a level that I think any marketing organization would be really proud of, and most tech organizations would wish they had that maturity. So they're driving these assaults in a relentless and automated and very precise way by leveraging AI. And so using all this technology has totally changed the way we think about cyber now. And so our CIOs are asking, how do we respond to that? And what do we have to change as a result?
And I think as well, there's a suggestion that not only have they got to deal with those, but in the case of AI, they're particularly under pressure to stand up new services around new technology. I guess AI being the prime example of that. So what sort of else does that deliver to their in tray, if you like, in terms of challenges they've got to deal with?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen AI add a lot of value to companies. And so every board, every organization wants to achieve those same results for their company. And so our report showed about 87% of the respondents have already established an AI work stream and are investing in AI skills. Even though the technology and the skills are in early stages, 87% is an overwhelming majority that are investing in it right now this year. And across all of our CIOs in the survey this year, it was named the #1 priority for 2024. So that's quite interesting. I think as agents have changed, CIOs are expected to make decisions that are going to generate real change and real business impact. And so it's a difficult balance to strike. But the research shows this cautious optimism on it, the fact they're all investing in that. And this dual dilemma of how to lead organizations to drive innovation and growth and leverage AI, but also protect them from the threat landscape and the disruptive forces there as well. That balancing act is a really fine thing that CIOs are struggling with, that balance, I think.
And overall, I guess they're all somewhere along the digital transformation journeys that have been planned, mapped out, etc. But again, clearly, what we've talked about so far is part of that landscape. But I believe there are also challenges around sort of lack of skills or skills shortages in certain areas, etc. And also, I think the report highlights a lack of digital vision. So is that the organization as a whole? Is that the CIOs are struggling together? What's going on there as well?
Yeah, it's very interesting to see this challenge for all of the CIOs to identify and communicate what really matters for their business. I think digital transformation has resulted in this surge of new processes, new products, new services, and new capabilities. And with all that noise, it's easy to get lost in the noise and the complexity to say, this is what really matters for our organization. Here's how I can really drive change. And so the IT leaders need to get a really strong grip on how their infrastructure is driving the business outcomes. And that's a fantastic opportunity for CIOs, because we saw going back a few years, we talked about shadow IT, and that was a theme in our report a few years ago. It's interesting because shadow IT is a term no one outside of IT would use. Businesses just refer to it as getting on with business. But we talk about shadow IT and using technology that's not in our remit. But now, and that was done because the business needed to get on and deliver new capabilities, and they couldn't wait for IT. But now, as we talk about these new outcomes and how does all of this investment drive my business, we have this new opportunity for relevance with the board, with the stakeholders, with the customers. And so having a really strong understanding of how the digital infrastructure drives those business outcomes is vital for the CIO. And then having the necessary data on hand to communicate that across the business. That's going to help them cut through the noise. What's interesting, though, is that in the survey, another stat that came out was about 62% of CIOs surveyed said that they'd experienced or anticipated the transformation projects being cancelled or delayed due to cost constraints. And so we've seen the cost of money going up, and the increase in inflation in most countries, cost of living expenses. Most businesses are tightening up on the purse strings and looking at reevaluating where the expenses are going. And so for this reason, it's so important that we have that link to the outcome to the business to be able to justify why this investment is really important.
And if we could perhaps just go back to the cyber threat, that sort of landscape, you explained a little bit about how if you like, the actors profile is changing from, I won't call them amateurs, but as you say, the sort of the one man or one person band sort of darkened room, etc., to almost like a professional business attitude to it. So how bad is that existing landscape? And I also believe that the report uncovers that CIOs are also worrying about what's next around the corner, which clearly they can't necessarily control right now, but it's presumably giving them a few sleepless nights as to how much worse it's going to get. Just thoughts as to what's going on, I suppose.
Absolutely. Our CIO report this year showed that 83% of their businesses have suffered a cyber hack in 2023 that's resulted in business damage or unscheduled downtime or loss of revenue or even loss of data. We don't get to see the breakdowns of those individual components, but if you're saying that 83% of those surveyed have experienced disruption as a result of a cyber threat, I'd probably extend that out to say the other 17% have but don't know. It's such an overwhelming number. And that's what's keeping CIOs up at night. This evolution of technology has made it an even bigger challenge. They're trying to tackle this integration of new systems and new processes and being more relevant to the business. But then with this risk profile saying that almost everyone is getting hacked and penetrated now is a real concern. Some of the companies have experienced regulatory fines, and so those consequences have long-lasting effects, and they're really expensive to recover from. And so I think it's just going to be almost every single customer this year has to presume they've been breached and try and prevent the impact of that to their business rather than assuming that they're safe and protected.
And I think the report also highlighted a bit of concern around connectivity. And I'm wondering, is that just because the enterprise is so extended now, so it's trying to make sure that everyone, wherever they are working, has a good experience, or is it what's going on when it comes to connectivity issues?
Yeah, it's definitely a key focus for CIOs as they recognise the importance of the infrastructure to support business innovation and driving business growth. One of the terms I liked is getting beyond the carpet and the technology out into the manufacturing areas or where the business is actually generating income. And so in our survey, we saw 3/4 of the CIOs say that the connectivity infrastructure has been a barrier for them implementing some IoT initiatives and trying to connect parts of the business that have never been connected before. If you look at that, going back to our business relevance concept and how do I show what we're investing in technology is helping drive a business outcome for our customers, they have to get data from the field. They have to look at areas of manufacturing or field work or remote locations that have never been connected before. And so trying to get that connectivity out there has been identified as a key investment area across all the respondents. One number that came up that was quite surprising is 93% are investing in or planning to invest in private 5G. And this is all about improving the customer and employee experience, getting that real-time inventory and asset oversight, connecting the remote areas, and even enabling new revenue streams that haven't been there before. So all relating to connectivity is a key theme.
And was that at all surprising? Because I mean, people have been talking about IoT and 5G and the edge, etc. Just a more connected enterprise for quite some time now. So were you surprised that it still seems as if a lot of people haven't actually begun or haven't got very far with that journey? What's going on?
I think the first few years we've been very invested in P5G for a long time at Logicalis, and we were a co-development partner with Cisco on their P5G solution. So we've had very early insight in how that's evolved. And I think our experience is it started out with a technology that was pretty cool and pretty interesting for a bunch of engineers, but looking for that business outcome and why the business should invest in it. Outside of some very niche cases, it was hard to justify. But now, as we're getting all these discussions back to business outcomes and what the systems are there for, what's their purpose in life, it's making it much easier to justify. And so now we're seeing that investment into P5G because the business see that I need to get this data, I need to get connected out there, I need to serve my customers in a new way or a new location than what we've been doing previously. And so I think it's that linkage back to a business outcome that's made the difference in driving P5G in particular.
And in terms of CIO's overall sort of outlook and confidence, contentment, if you like, does the survey reveal that despite what we've talked about, the challenges, they're a fairly happy bunch, know where they're going and think everything under control? Or is there a certain amount of I don't know, not panic, but stress and worry that there are so many demands on them and they're not quite sure what to prioritize and how to get where they need to? Did the survey sort of uncover that attitude or not?
Yeah, it definitely did. And it's something that we've been talking to the market over the last 12 or 18 months about with our CIO's hierarchy of outcomes and shifting away from the focus on traditional technical metrics, speeds and feeds and that sort of thing, to the 5 crucial business-driven outcomes that drive business value in this modern digital landscape. So reliability, security, economics, user experience, and sustainability are the 5 key metrics that are helping our CIOs connect to those business outcomes. And so talking to them through that lens is helping. We're seeing most CIOs, when we have those discussions and talk about getting to grip with all the threats and what they've got, these complex discussions they're having, they feel like they're well placed for it. And I think that they realize that they've got a great opportunity to be more relevant to the business than ever before. So there is this cautious optimism that, yes, it's hard, it's a big hill to climb, but the reward is there to be taken because that business relevance has never been more prevalent. And so when we talk about it, we say there's 3 key things. So it's like preparation is key. Every organization should accept they're going to experience a cyber breach and be prepared for that. The stats showed that 83% last year had it. I'd probably argue 17% have also had it, but don't know yet. So being resilient isn't about never being breached. It's about recovering quickly and cleanly when you're breached and moving from this disaster recovery approach to one of business continuity. And the second is, how do we use AI to fight AI? As I mentioned, they're using AI in these new cyber threat actors and ways of penetrating organizations. But by analysing all this data and getting a comprehensive overview of the vulnerabilities in the network using AI, we can be more prepared for the threat ahead. So embracing AI to tackle that challenge. And again, it's going back to those 5 outcomes, we've developed our digital fabric platform for our customers that measure across those 5 metrics to give a view of your performance. And so that ongoing measurement, particularly of security compliance in real time, and then insights on how to reduce those threat dwell times is being really well received. So I think there's a lot of optimism and a lot of pride in our CIOs that see that they have the opportunity to be more relevant than ever before. And I see them all stepping up to that challenge. We're quite excited about it.
Okay, I mean, it's been lovely to chat and very good of you to share the insights on what's going on via the report and some food for thought. So, Toby, appreciate your time. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.